Today from Pinnacle. We're at the Global Entrepreneurship Summit, as we've been all week. I want to say I'm glad to speak to you today. We're a fellow. I'm publishing a book this year by McGraw-Hill, so we're McGraw-Hill authors.
Very nice. Yeah. All right.
McGraw-Hill authors. And I want to talk to you today about your success. And I mean, you've got one of the fastest growing companies, or the biggest IT firms in the country. I want to talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
And so your kind of challenges growing up, and how that shaped your career and how you think and how you do things.
Okay.
You're an immigrant. You came in. Yep. What were the challenges that you face, and a woman, in this world? And I hate to put labels on people, but you know, it's important because that's part of who you are and what shaped you. Can you tell me a little bit about some of the challenges you had in business and how you overcame some of those challenges?
Sure. Well, Rhett, first of all, thanks for having me. Anytime my story can serve as an inspiration and or information for another entrepreneur, then it warms my heart, because Pinnacle will celebrate its 20-year anniversary this year, and I feel like it's taken 20 years to become an overnight sensation. It really does. There's no such thing, and it's been a long, hard road. I mean, full of sacrifices. I refuse to say full of failure. They're just setbacks. You can call them whatever you want, but never failure, because that's just part of the journey. I grew up in an immigrant family. My parents immigrated to the United States in the 1960s, and I grew up with watching my parents be entrepreneurs. I mean, they found their American dream through entrepreneurship. And so, I grew up watching them have a setback after a setback, the peaks and valleys of entrepreneurship. But the one thing it did teach me, it taught me a lot actually, incredible work ethic. Incredible work ethic. It taught me that it is a journey. Yeah. There are peaks and there are valleys of entrepreneurship, and you've got to be able to withstand those peaks and those valleys. So perseverance is something it taught me. But most of all, it taught me that entrepreneurship is a vehicle to the American dream. And so now, all grown up as a presidential ambassador, I spend my time really, because firsthand, I spend my time inspiring other entrepreneurs, because it can change lives. In many cases, it changes families and communities and nations and even the world.
So I do want to go back to what you're doing now and why you're giving back and why you the support of what you're doing. Something you said really sparked another question. Do you think you're different now than 20 years ago? I look back at when I started my company, and things that used to make me absolutely cringe or cry even now don't bother me as much. Do you think there's a maturity, right, that you get after you've dealt with so many challenges and so many things? Do you think you're different now than you were when you started?
I want to say absolutely yes and absolutely not. And let me explain. I'm different in many ways. I'm a more educated and tenured entrepreneur. I think differently, but at the same time,
how do you think?
Well, because I had, as your company scales, you have to stop thinking like a founder and start thinking like a CEO. And so that evolution, I feel like I'm a mature entrepreneur today than I was when I first started. When I first started, I was young and single. I didn't have any networks. I didn't have access to anything. I didn't know half of a fraction of the things that I know today. Right. But I'm still the same in that my values are still exactly the same. I started the company, like many female entrepreneurs, out of need. I saw a need in the marketplace, but I also had a need in my family. My mother was widowed by the time she was 40 with 5 children. And so I needed to figure out how I am going to propel my family and the next generations to succeed. And so what began as one thing has evolved to something else. Right. And so I am very, very different from a business sense, but I'm exactly the same in that I never forget where I came from.
So the same things drive you that drove you back then still drive you today.
That's exactly right. Okay. And now, again, you didn't want to put labels, but it is what it is. I was a young entrepreneur in technology and a Hispanic. I mean, today in America, Hispanics are the fastest growing segment of American small business. There's about 4.1 million of us in the United States, but Latinos are paving the way. And so a long time through
And entrepreneurship is declining. So right.
Not in terms of Hispanics. Hispanics are actually overall,
Yeah.
but Hispanics continue to lead the way.
Why is that?
I think it's because many Hispanics are immigrants. Many have found that entrepreneurship is a vehicle to their American dream, like my family did.
Is it the only avenue you think, or is it?
In some cases, I wouldn't say it's the only avenue, but it is a avenue. Because when you think about Hispanics' growth in corporate America, very, very level C-level executives, very level C-level. The percentage of Hispanics serving on corporate boards, the percentage of Hispanics serving in the C-suite. And so Hispanics have figured out, you know what?
That's the way
This is something that I can do really well and provide well for my family. And that is the case for thousands and even millions of Hispanics today. And so a long time ago, I decided that I was going to utilize my business success to help inspire more entrepreneurs. And as I've grown to be successful, I have tried to become a voice in corporate America, in government, for the need and the desire to grow Hispanic businesses in the country.
Why is that? I mean, a lot of people, they get to the point where you are and stuff, and they don't think about helping others. They don't think about why help and why put so much into. I mean, the ambassadors program, the Page Ambassadors program that you're part of. Why give back so much, and why focus so much energy on it?
You know, that's a great question. I grew up with entrepreneurial parents, but also my mother was a civic leader, and she taught me at a very, very young age, and even today, she's very unimpressed with business success, that you have to remember where you came from, and you can't be what you can't see. And it's so important to see role models, and as a growing, thriving community in this country, it is my responsibility as a successful Hispanic to turn around and help inspire, grow, angel fund, whatever it is, to help Hispanics succeed. I found the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is an incredible platform.
Okay.
I was the first Latina second Latina in 30-something years. And so through that organization, I've been able to develop programs and services to help open doors for others. And to whom much is given, much is expected.
Fair enough. I want to get into technology real quick.
Sure.
And I want to talk about access.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's the key to growing business in the U.S., growing access in disadvantaged neighborhoods and areas? How do we do that better? I mean, how do we get people more access so that it levels the playing field?
You're absolutely right. Mark Zuckerberg said this morning there are 7 billion people in the world.
4 billion.
4 billion do not have connectivity. If you
imagine what we're missing.
Imagine the innovation, the entrepreneurship, the difference that it would make if we allowed more people to have connectivity. And so I think at a very macro level, he's absolutely right.
It's almost a human right now, isn't it?
It truly can be. I mean, it truly can make an incredible difference. And even inside a business, growing a business, as we were scaling, I used technology as an enabler, because one of your biggest ticket items in entrepreneurship is people. And so how can you leverage technology as you're scaling, as your young company, to grow, to be an enabler in your business? So whether it's growing inside of your business or whether you're looking at it as a world challenge, I think technology and the growth and connectivity of technology is something that we should keep on the forefront.
I was talking to somebody yesterday, and I think the conversation centered around that almost every business now is a technology business, or is an online business to some degree. Mm-hmm. Do you kind of agree with that?
Well, I think some of the fastest growing segments of entrepreneurship are technology. I developed a program called At the Table for Women in Business and Leadership, and we ran a competition. Okay. We looked all over the United States for Latinas that were running businesses, and we got thousands of applications, and the 3 winners were all in tech. They're developing drones, they're developing apps. Anna Bermudez with Tagit, and so what we found is that a lot of new entrepreneurs are going into tech. But, I am of the mindset that, and we heard a little bit of this today, entrepreneurship can change the world, yes, and that's important, but not every entrepreneur needs to start a business that changes the world.
Right.
Okay? An entrepreneur could change their life, right? And then it begins to change their family, and then it begins to change their associates, and then their community. And so I don't want to mislead people to think that they have to start something that changes the world, although that is very impressive. But entrepreneurship can be something that just changes your life.
I always talk about, and when I talk to entrepreneurs, I talk about thinking small.
Mm-hmm.
And we all like to talk about thinking big, but I think when you're first starting out,
Mm-hmm.
you can have a big dream, but you have to think small too,
Mm-hmm.
because you have to be okay with where you are at that moment, so that you can focus on the things that you need to do to grow your business. But thank you for your time today. It's been great to talk. Thanks for the conversation, and keep up doing all the great work, and thank you.
Rhett, it's my pleasure to be here, and thank you for taking the time.
It's Rhett from Inc. from the Global Entrepreneurship Summit in sunny California.
Well, thank you for that.
Thank you.
I want to make sure I'm clear. I don't want to mislead people that they shouldn't start companies to change the world. I just have seen so many people start businesses to change their lives, their family, to have purpose, and so
okay.
I just think that's really important.
You see you guys as examples, and you see the Zuckerbergs of the world, and the reality is, and I work a lot in Africa, and so I see this firsthand. It's okay to start a business that's local.
That's right. That's how my parents started. They were a local business. They served their community, and that's how they fed 5 children.
Right.
And
there's nothing wrong with that. That's what we need. That's what creates jobs. That's what. So I wouldn't misunderstand.
Good. I wanted to make sure, because sometimes we don't talk about that as much.
You want to talk about it? You want to do it again?
Oh, well, no.
Okay.
I mean, I think we did. We don't talk about how, and for many entrepreneurs, the millions. I know there's 10.6 million women-owned businesses in this country. Less than 2% are over $1 million. And so I feel like the last 2 generations have been a startup generation. Startups, starting businesses. And now women and minorities and all entrepreneurs have proved that they could start a business. And I feel like the future generations is about scale up. How do we scale those businesses? Because when you scale the business, that's when we move an entire community up.
That's how we encourage. I've got 2 boys, and I never gave it a lot of thought, but my business partner had a little girl, and we sit around and talk about all the time. How does he encourage her? How does he, because a lot of I don't think we encourage young women and girls to that they can do it, right?
So 2 things.
I take that because I live in South Africa right now, and it's just not encouraged.
Well, 2 things. When encouraging young girls, society will take care of themselves, so it's very important. Society will have a big influence on them, so it's very important as we look to change how we see both men and women, so that's really important. But the biggest piece is, quite frankly, at home. And so the best gift you can give your daughter, the best gift that I try to give my daughters, is the gift of confidence. I was very lucky this year because my daughter is at Stanford. She is 16, and she's here with a youth leadership program at the same time as GES. So I pulled her from the program because I wanted her to see the president. I wanted her to see Mark Zuckerberg. I wanted her to meet entrepreneurs from all over the world, and the vast majority that are women. And so I wanted her to see with her own eyes what entrepreneurs around the world would say. And I could say that's probably a heck of an education.
That's, and just the fact that you're